Thank you for joining us here at the EUF coverage of the Summer Tour in Trnava. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, on the call for the women's final about to get underway in front of us. It is an all-Czech Republic affair. East Bloc versus 3SB, of course. The women's division format here in Trnava in Slovakia is the pool of just 6 teams, with each team playing each other once, and then a final placement game at the end of the proceedings. So this, of course, the placement game is the final, and it is indeed a rematch where we are expecting East Bloc to come to the fore again. Of course, they had quite the matchup earlier on, that was yesterday, where it was a 15-point capped victory for East Bloc. They took that one 15-9, and then had that game against Fabulous, which was delayed in terms of the live stream coverage, not delayed with the game, interrupted, I should probably say instead. That would be a more accurate word. But the local conditions in Trnava this afternoon are very, very hot indeed, causing sometimes our tech to get a bit overheated, our video camera. Of course, this is the AI production. As you see, Christina Tluster there in her sun hat, readying for play. But yeah, very nice to just be chilling out, but difficult conditions to be playing under this hot sun. And it's going to be East Bloc to start in white, and 3SB in their flamingo-themed blue jerseys. So East Bloc ripping it deep immediately. And this first point, that one though, not quite as well attuned as some of the other shots we've seen them throw up. So 31 degrees Celsius out here on the pitches. A little bit windier than yesterday, which makes for slightly more pleasant conditions. Gusts of up to 11 miles per hour. We'll have to convert that for our European audience, though, of course. So 3SB with an opportunity to take an early break. Just moving it up this near sideline. That one's just going to bobble off the fingertips, though. No opportunity to make the second effort for Rahel Toshnerova. Wonderful to see her back on the pitch. And East Bloc, second opportunity. Paveltsova takes the reset to Zalushka. And just great containment from the person defense from 3SB. They do have a couple of folks on their roster who won't be playing this tournament, so perhaps a slight number disadvantage. Oh, I love that offhand backhand slice. For a travel call, perhaps. Everyone moving backwards, or maybe a pick, since the disc seems to not be changing hands. Bora Hrushakova there, just in the number 74, not wearing the East Bloc shorts. So I wonder if she's maybe not playing this game. She is wearing cleats by the look of it. Just on that bottom left corner of your screen, just tucked behind Babarikova. But whatever the call was, not entirely sure. That one's come back, perhaps indeed the travel. Nice high catch for Svekova. Just throwing that forward, and it is unable to be redeemed. Now 3SB, second effort at a defensive break to start the game. Now that would be something very exciting indeed. Lovely up line conversion. We know that 3SB love to shoot it. And they're going to go for all the way through, but maybe should have holstered that last one. The throw just a bit too powerful. And it will be a full stretch effort required for East Block for swing number 3 at bat. See that big poach off from the reset handler space, looking to try and prevent the uplines. It's going to be a discussion on the reception there, presumably a foul call. And it's accepted. Of course, the Czech Republic not too far, or Czechia, as it should be called now, not too far away from where we're playing right now in Trnava, and that's not too far away at all. A lovely weighted backhand shot, and we do get our first goal of the game at long last. It took a little while to come, but that is the first on the board for East Block. Hadova finding Teresa Haveltsova. Haveltsova, I should say, because the emphasis needs to be on the middle of the name. Always a challenge for us Brits to learn how all these different wonderful European nations say their names. So 3SB, of course, being inspired by the previous round, perhaps, their open team in the final, grabbing that wild card spot to the EUCS. That also an all-Czech affair. Terrible Monkeys facing off, taking the second spot here. It's all about the standings for the ranking at the end of the season. And in this women's division, 3SB currently sat in the 4th spot. East Block just behind them in 6th position. A lot of strength coming out of the Czech Republic. So 3SB's O-line now immediately get turned over. And, well, fear not, folks, those blazing burnt orange shorts. Not the full true East Block kit, but definitely a great look. And she was ready for the catch block with Rushakova. Inside, feisty throw. But some variety of call. Hopefully things can be cleaned up as the game develops. Now grinding back, you can see just throwing in motion. Not even really stopping to make a pivot. Of course, taking advantage of the adjustment in the travel rules. But the arcing blade is snaffled up by the defender. And 3SB get possession back. Well, 3SB really happy to throw to the flow connections, but just this final player, the deepest player, the throw is just coming a little bit unglued. East Block have time. They have a little bit of separation, but that's a really solid bit of defense poaching off. What on earth was that? Barbora Rushakova. Wow. Fantastic recovery catch. Well, as I said, not having Rushakova on the pitch would have been a very big loss for East Block, but it's the point lost for 3SB's O-line. Certainly nothing to be worried about just yet, because both teams are turning each other over repeatedly, and a timeout being called by 3SB. Seems to be that from the hand signals, and I did hear the words timeout from our live scorekeepers. So we'll take a brief pause up here in the booth as well. So 3SB coming out again on offense. East Block still favouring person coverage. We saw them put a very effective zone on against Fabulous in their final pool game. But that's a good find and a solid hold for 3SB. And the Flamingos flying high. Slaps all round, of course. Many of these athletes have played against each other repeatedly across the years, across the seasons. But the only one that's counted for EUCS ranking points thus far was yesterday's game, indeed, the 15-9 victory of East Block. Although the overall algorithm, based on the results to date for both of these teams in the 2024 season, the actual expected scoreline per the ranking algorithm is 15 to 14.99. So a universe point finish with the full points cap is what the algorithm predicts, more or less. So there really isn't too much advantage, just 3SB having that edge of the higher ranking score. The rating difference between these two teams, just 36.55 points overall. And mutual opponents-wise, they've defeated the same folks, which is both Troubles and Box Vienna. And we'll talk a bit more about the season as it stands in a little while. But East Block haven't had a clean hold yet, but do have that breaker score to their name. 2-1 at the moment. That one sails high and is well handled downfield. The zone quite passive from 3SB, trying to just set the trap and pounce. I think a little bit of a collision there as the zone players ran through. So 3SB pushing East Block to repeated high stall counts. The downfield defense doing a great job, because we know that East Block are very happy to shoot it when they need to. And that one, perfect rainbow arc into Maslowaka. Maslowiakova, sorry. Looking down and then up and then down and up. The longer settings are more difficult, but that one is very simple and easy. Might be called back, though. On an in-out bounds call, perhaps. Nope. Signals as a goal. And that one is going to count. Mari Zalushka finding Marketa Butsova for the third goal for East Block. Just the fourth point of the game. So a little bit of insight provided by one of our other fellow commentators. Thanks, Dimmy. The ranking yesterday was 15-13. So the connection between these two teams, that win by a considerable margin, only amending the rankings ever so slightly. As we say, both of these teams already pretty safely up in the rankings. A win here would be more meaningful for East Block because they are in the 6th spot. They have a shorter distance to fall before they head all the way out of the rankings. Of course, 32 teams in total that have registered, but not all of the teams required, getting that required 10 games in. Most notably in this division, the women's division, Atletico, with just the 6 games to their record, and the wildcard winners from Elite Invite, Jinx, only managing 11 games to date. The curious function, of course, of being able to elect or unelect at some of these ranking events for your team to count towards the overall rankings. Some teams planning to go to some events, as we see Boshnova, the younger, throwing a beautiful arcing flick. But yes, curious ways of this inaugural ranking season that's given us lots to talk about, but nice, cool, smooth flow from 3SB, and they celebrate with their counterparts from the Open team. Of course, 3SB, a women's team name known for quite some time. But 3SB in the Open division on the rise. They've secured themselves that berth to Ostend later this year. Still wearing the Foy shirts, though. Everyone enjoying the scenes here. And that will settle the ship. So just the one break of score so far in this game. That second point. Dominated by that ripper recovery grab for Barbora Rushakova. And you can actually see on some of the athletes' faces how the sunscreen they've applied, perhaps zinc sunscreen, just to sort of stay put despite the hard efforts being put out here on the pitch. But East Block now coming back out on offense, but a fantastic run through defensive bid, and tries to race away but comes back to the handler space, but it's going to be a straight fire shot, immediately going for goal, and that is the way to score a break. We know that 3SB love a good huck. Kristina Bulanova finding Teresia Ganska. Well, what a fantastic throw that was from Bulanova. So 3SB break back. We're now on serve at 3-2. I take it back. My screen hadn't refreshed. That wasn't Kristina Bulanova with the throw. And I really shouldn't be surprised to see who it actually was. Rahel Doshnerova finding Alice Surova. Because we know that the Toshti loves a big huck. Just goes to show, actually, execution of deep throws doesn't rely on you being overly musculated in an obvious fashion. Toshnova, a very lithe athlete, uses the leverage and the full whip effect. But a missed catch in the centre pocket. Havotsova will want that one back for sure. Can 3SB make the most of the short field? Bouncing around the back. Oh, that's a big old break, but cannot be connected with. If anything, I think maybe that layout attempt went a shot over the disc. Now, can 3SB recover their defence and set the zone? Already well past centre field. And casually dishing between them. Oliver holding onto it for a dear long time before Havutsova comes in. That's a nice find though, over the top. Just catching the wing player, sneaking into the middle. And East Block hold on and avoid getting double broken. Svekova available after that opening shot to Marketa Hutsova. So everything's still level here in this women's final in Trnava. The wonderful city in western Slovakia, just to the northeastern edge of Bratislava on the Trnavka River. It's the capital of this particular region and of the district, and has some beautiful architecture, it has to be said, some lovely Baroque church vibes. So 3SB looking to put the disc out on a wing and a prayer. And they indeed go for that deep shot. That would have been a spectacular catch. Really pushing to the edge of abilities there. And East Block get another opportunity to break. So East Block being put under loads of pressure in the difficult corner to throw from. And 3SB absolutely roof on the defense. Give the girl a hammer and a couple of slates while she's up there. But it's a simple, rudimentary throw and catch to finish off that point. Anna Dravakova connecting with Hermina Ottova. And that will be solid for the hold. 4 apiece here in the women's final. Of course, not only ranking points on the line in this one, but also that golden ticket. The opportunity to get yourselves a guaranteed berth into the EUCS, the European Ultimate Championship finals in Ostend in Belgium at the end of September. Of course, it's a busy season for some. Sadly, despite the strength of Czech Ultimate in the women's division and, of course, in the open division, having just snagged themselves 2 berths in the finals in Trnava in the open division as well, and teams well up in the rankings. There's no Czech teams appearing at the World Ultimate Championships. It's just a bit too far and a bit too quirkily placed in the season. So the Czech Federation deciding not to attend. And we are the poorer for it, because of course we saw a delightful bronze medal win for their women's programme at the EUC last year. Many of these faces on that squad. Now it's East Block's turn to try and shoot towards that front corner. A lot of those far sideline shooting right to left hucks downwind have not quite panned out. It's a difficult one to do. Of course, I said it's much more windy today than it was yesterday. In fact, the wind's definitely rising as the clouds start to gather. Earlier on today, you barely saw a single cloud in the sky. So that downwind forehand throw, seeing both teams unable to connect with each other. And that one never came in bounds, so a little bit of gifting for 3SB. So running up line, power position. That one is a bit low as the backhand, but what a fantastic grab. Be nice to see them be able to move it all the way across. They do so without a swing, just an absolute laser play. Fabulous throwing form. And of course, who else? Who else but Rahel Doshnerova? Nila Danovska on the end of it, but the vision from the long-standing 3SB player. And a timeout, perhaps? Yes, that's the proper timeout signal. Not surprisingly, broken again. East Block now look to recover. Well, this is a very different story to the last time these two met up. It was all about the 3SB slower start in the last game. East Block taking advantage of that, getting themselves on the board repeatedly, breaking twice in the first half, and then the run of three to really punch it in the latter stages. But this time 3SB changing their fortunes and starting a little campaign of their own because they want to secure their spot.
Offense ready!
So first half proceedings going along here in the women's division final in Trnava, Slovakia. Just over the border for these two teams. It's East Block currently trailing. One break of score versus 3SB. Rahel Toshnova throwing both of the breaks. But it's all been about winning some of these sky battles, putting that pressure on. We get another look at the 3SB zone, which is opened up immediately with a can opening hammer. But can they now chisel their way through? Again, love the way that they aggressively move and push through from the back. However, that little adjustment though from the zones, excuse me, bit of hiccups, preventing Aveltsova from exploding through. Zalushka now pushing. Swinging it all the way around the back. East Block certainly not afraid of a high pass tally. They don't mind driving it through their handler set all day long. And thus far in this game, they haven't been winning too many of the 50-50 battles, so they're just going to keep pushing for inches and ever getting closer. This is lovely flow, but great containment from the zone. Really nullifying so much, and there is that pass that goes astray. Of course, that is an aspect of playing the zone. If you can go for the numbers game, And look at that separation downfield. Doesn't have the ability to take it. Good adjustment on the mark. There's some kind of violation called earlier on. So that one will come back quite a few passes. Perhaps a travel call. That must have been about 30 or 40 seconds prior. Well, in fact, it seems to be an infraction called on the very first pass that 3SB put in. So maybe that big gainer for the balletic catch. Violation. Players just starting off a little bit too soon by the looks of things. Back in play. This time, 3SB choose the route around. And then up line. Oh, but that one's just a little bit too much to be handled by Danowska. Now, 3SB again, making it more difficult for East Block to find these near side spaces. Just having to settle for lateral yards most of the time. That's a nice little find through for Mashloviakova. Offhand dish. Now scooching through. That one just so close to being a goal. Can they inch their way around the zone? No one able to really drive through that front set of three. A little bit more vision on that one would have been good, but that doesn't need to be because they finally find a way through. This time it's just a nice, easy, flat backhand for East Block, but they steady the ship after the timeout. Dominika Habova finding Tereca Haveltsova for the goal. And so the battle continues. Of course, standard rules for a European Federation game. We've got points cap of 15 overall. 5 apiece, but 3SB still up that one break of score. And they will start the second half on offense to boot. You can see the players using their water bottles to douse themselves as well as rehydrate in the more conventional ways. Just to reiterate, it is 31 degrees Celsius out on these pitches at Trnava. It is hot. So you see 3SB moving all the way around. Of course, not all of our locations are as warm as each other. There's jealousy for some. Oh, that's a great envy-inducing play, though. Full stretch catch. And now towards that line, they win the foot race. And a solid hold to bring it to 6-5. Kristina Bulanova finding Teresa Mra Razova for that goal. Lovely and warm in Slovakia today. And this game is getting hot too. You can just see Kristina Trustova, one of the rising Czech stars, was part of the super team. But the original iteration, not the one that necessarily went to a certain windmill tournament, but there was actually a little super team, dream team type affair that was entered into CFC. The brainchild, of course, of Stefan Rapazzo. Although I never realised until I listened to an interview he did that I am partly responsible for incepting that idea in his brain, it turns out. It's funny how these things happen. But plenty of other rising stars coming out of East Bloc. We already talked about the number 74, Hrushakova, but as well, Marketa Hutsova may well be out there on this O point. Ever so trusty and very useful around the end zone. Got 12 goals and 6 assists. But that's a great smackdown defense, reading the play fabulously, and an enviable goal line possession that's going to turn into a block. Again, 3SB a little bit too hasty, but I think there's going to be a discussion, a potential strip call here. That would be a bit of redemption to see the disc come back for 3SB, because that was a spicy choice, if ever there was. I mean, we love to see a little bit of spice. It's what keeps games entertaining. That real concept that anything could happen at any moment. But the D is going to stand, but the disc is not. Immediate turnover, the hammer unable to be collected on that far sideline where everyone seems to be finding it tricky to execute. But they squeeze it down the line, and 3SB put themselves in front again. A huge break in a pivotal moment to take themselves within one of half time. Well, I don't know what happened in the game yesterday. It seems like 3SB have been perhaps working to play the schedule. Certainly finding themselves at the moment.
Na 8,5 čas. Ano, časový a dohrála se do 8.
A takže je to 5-7.
Ano, 7-5.
A teďka už je poločas teda?
Na 8,5 čas.
Na 8, takže až se dohraje poločas.
So East Bloc looking to try and recover here. Currently trailing 2 breaks. It's becoming a game of waves. Of course, East Bloc got that first break in the second point. And the theme continues. The theme definitely continues of Rahel Toshnerova throwing the assists for the breaks. This time, we are spreading the love around a little bit on the receptions. This time it was Anna Dvorakova. But 1 point away from taking the half in dominant fashion are 3SB. East Bloc struggling just a touch. You can see that sag off in the hand of space. A point of match defense. I have to say this probably favours East Bloc a little bit, and a timeout being called. I think that did look like the hand signal that was made by the player with the disc, which I I think, based on a flash of number memory, is Haveltsova. Certainly have Masloviakova closer to us, and at number 47, taking the matchup of Boshneva. And it is indeed that one an easy grab for Halova. And it's going to rip it straight back towards the end zone. That one just absolutely perfectly weighted. No one else really able to make a play on it, just the intended receiver who done all the hard work. Marketa Vudsova racing towards the end zone with lots of separation. We see a little discussion happening between the players on the sidelines, perhaps the Spirit captains. But Dominika Chadova had a very easy job there. And so 7-6, our current scoreline. 3 SB up on East Block, keeping things nice and interesting for us here in Trnava. You can hear the lines being called. So just pocketed right in the center of things. Not too far from Vienna, Budapest, Prague, Bratislava. In fact, if you look at it on a map, Trnava is pretty much smack bang in the center of mainland Europe. Of course, maps are a little bit biased in terms of how they show views of the world. Easy to forget how big some parts of the world are, including when everyone, well, not everyone, of course. You can't be everybody, as much as we'd like to take every single ultimate playing member of the European community over there. As I say, some folks will be noticeably missing at the World Championships later on next month. But, fun fact, you can fit all of Europe, including some of the sea, inside of the landmass of Australia. Bringing you all the fun factage today. So a roller pool will career out of the side as 3SB look to try and close out this half, maintaining their advantage that the D-line have ground away. A little bit messy on the hand, the space clearing through. They find the form, and that is a great throw on the bounce, taken down, and 3SB will lead coming into the second half and get the buy one, get one free effect. 8-6. Can they make it 9-6? So the teams will change sides here for halftime, and we will take a little bit of a break. Can East Block change their fortunes and come through in the latter stages? Well, as the keen-eared among you will have heard just now, the timeout, or not timeout, the half-time is over. Clearly, I need a bit more of a rest. Well, pleasure to have you with us, folks. Women's division final here in Trnava. Try and get my mouth to roll the R. In Slovakia, the centre pocket of Europe, as 3SB come out on offense, looking to try and consolidate their advantage. Fantastic person defense. There's going to be a foul call between Kluster and her matchup. Just having a quick discussion about the physicality. I think that might be a younger Toshnelova. That's the number 8 on the back. Former gymnast. Well, still gymnast as well. She's still very gymnastic. Nekova Toshnelova, to be more accurate. Although, apologies, Sarah, if I'm getting the your new married name wrong. So we get an action replay of the catch that happened after the foul call to Havlova. Oh, and that's a beautiful truss bomb. And what an attack on the back of it. 3SB absolutely emphatic to bring in their offense and consolidate their advantage. And Sara Toshnelova connecting with Eliška Zikasova. Well, 9-6, the lead in this game. Stolen away with some exceptional defense in the first half. East Bloc have not been getting their way with these deeper shots. But the trust balls, the leads, the connections at the moment between 3SB are a whole vibe. So smiles all around for 3SB and hugs to boot. Now what can their D-line cook up? Of course, 3SB, largely based in the same town where Budweiser is brewed. But what are they brewing up with this next zone point? That's a lovely lead pass from East Bloc. Lovely float, now moving it. Can they go all the way around? No, they stop and find the centre pocket, and that's a little dish. A high toss pass. And that one, well, I tell you what, I don't know if it was a slow set from the 3SB zone or just a new strategy from East Bloc, but that almost looked like the defence wasn't really there. Either way, if you're 3SB, perhaps you might feel a little uncomfortable with that. Eliška Kotrobova finding Marketa Pinova for the goal. So East Bloc now with the job to do, trailing by 2 breaks of score. They started the game with the advantage, putting in their offensive hold. But that was, in fact, that was not quite the quickest goal of the game, but the quickest goal for East Block so far. That one, only 2 minutes. The quickest goal of the game, of course, was that very quick counter-attack to get the first break of the game back for 3SB. So you see Cluster there and the iconic bunches. No, I take it back. That's not Cluster. Always have to wait for folks to stand all the way around, just underneath our camera view. Anyway, we'll go back to the frisbee, shall we? That's a great find in space, but a costly drop. Doesn't give the best field position to East Block. They will have to grind the full stretch of the pitch. So East Block perhaps loading a couple of lines as 3SB now try and apply the zone to smother and cover the flow. Dampen it like a wet towel on a hot day to try and cool the shoulders, but there is a flying, flustering bid. Smacking the hand down. So 3SB looking to get isolation on the front of the end zone. And it goes for a spicy inside shot. What a throw that was. Kristina Bulanova shooting the disc to Denisa Havlova, almost like they're not friends. That one was a real rocket. And 3SB will hold on here, 10-7. Their lead continues. And we get ever closer to the overall points cap for the game. So 15 until the cap of the time clock goes is the points tally that both teams are aiming for. And 3SB just needing to hold their nerve all the way through, because it would feel pretty good to know that you've secured your spot for the EUCF no matter what the results. And of course you'll be able to tune in tomorrow to know who has made it and who hasn't. Of course, the other women's division event happening over in Chambry. Oh, I take it back, Chambry's just mixed. Either way, the other women's division that's going on this summer tour, very crucial, because the wild card awarded there will make a very big difference, because there are some teams threatening for that are not currently in the ranking position standings. East Block now, though, looking very fine indeed, just racing away up this near sideline. Mashkova finding Zalushka, and the flow just changing hands rapidly. And it's a big backhand break from Michaela Mashkova that will find the magic on the front line. So I tell a lie, it was indeed Chambry that's the other women's division. My EUCS schedule page did not load correctly for me. So the final over in that one looks like it will be potentially a game for Woof to take it through. But that one, no placement game in Chambry. They have a slightly different number of teams. 7 teams to play with. It's a bit of a different schedule. So that one just a straight round robin. with the only undefeated team over in the Alps in France. And until this stage, it looked like East Bloc were going to get a clean sweep of their own. Of course, we are also bringing you coverage from Chambry. But at the moment, East Bloc looking to try and snatch a break back against this 3SB team, who are but a few points away from seeing themselves into the boss end of the season. Vashneva distributes that one, going to make the layout, but it's a little bit too late. So a big opportunity here. And East Bloc immediately put it on. Downfield connection, great to Vaterva. Love to see the use of the overheads. Both teams getting involved with them. Now giving and going and flowing all the way to that front cone. Perhaps an out of bounds call. That does look quite close to the lines. Can East Bloc find their way around the jaws of the 3SB zone? Solid transition to it, despite that early mid-range shot. Came out of the hands of Masloviakova. Oh, but that's a bit too much feist on the disc for Shakova. Going all the way, double helixing, and that one, a knee slide with a collision underneath it. Not the most attractive throw you'll ever see. I definitely thought that one was trying to connect with the far side swing handler. So unclear as to what the outcome is going to be of this one yet. Certainly an elongated discussion. Well, by the looks of things, okay, so we have the player involved in the contact with the disc, so that will be an accepted foul. Or, oh, and straight into a timeout. Okay, that makes sense now as to why everybody was moving around. Okay, folks, well, we'll take a brief break as well alongside the athletes on the field. We'll be right back. Kai now in the second half here in the women's final in Trnava. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, on the call for our remote commentary and our AI camera setup here in the heart of Europe. Slovakia, currently very hot indeed, 31 degrees Celsius. Everyone trying to find the shade, but no shade to be thrown on this pitch. Two teams out there working their hearts out. 3SB having taken the loss to East Block yesterday in a commanding victory for this new, well, I say, we can't really call East Block a new team at this stage. They are very well established, but East Block took that victory 15-9 over 3SB in their flamingo-themed jerseys. But this time, when a wild card into the EUCS later this year is on the line, 3SB have found the magic. The power throw is really coming to the fore. And 10-8 with 3SB getting possession back after a bit of an unconventional hammer with some contact underneath it, which after a discussion will be put back in play. Sara Doshnova picking up. And we're back in action. Thinking about that big break, goes for it. Hits the money perfectly. And 3SB looking a touch static, trying to connect with Nenekova Soshnirova, but not to be. Dishing backwards and forwards, but not quite keeping eye contact, and the disc goes astray. We do have one player that we've just noticed. Lipschi not playing for 3SB in the off jersey, but 3SB now not playing for East Block, sorry. Oh, and that's a lash into the end zone, unleashing the animal throw. And Denisa Havlova finds Teresa Mrazova for the next goal. So 11-8. 3SB 4 points away from victory. And there indeed, Lipschi with a bit of bandage around that right leg. Things all going to game plan, it seems, for 3SB. Denisa Havlova with the assist, just the tender age of 20. In fact, both these teams have a pretty solid age spreadsheet. Havlova there getting a little cuddle from Alishka Chikesheva. And now East Block's time at the furnace, trying to hammer away. Oh, that's a beautiful little give-go channel, just nibbling up the distance. Now being forced backwards. You can see 3SB do not give a solitary jot about the player in negative space, because East Block haven't been able to puncture through. They love those little spear cuts from the handler set through the cup of the zone, but the way that 3SB have positioned themselves is working beautifully. Oh, but that is vision. and it will work out to keep things going and prevent 3SB from stealing any more feathers out of the cushion. Very attractive flow offense there. Marketa Hutsova with a bit of vision for Baborkova. Hutsova currently living in Prague. Played for the University of Chemistry and Technology and also key parts of the Czech women's national programs all the way from the under-20s up. 25 now though, so just representing for the senior women's team. I think perhaps a timeout being called here. Or maybe just trying to find the way to rest, although coach does appear to be kneeling down with clipboard in hand. Of course, all the results, all the details from these games are available across the summer tours. It's just one of many. And the other women's consolidation games ongoing in this time slot. You have Troubles, Box Vienna, and Fabulous Out Sisters. And if you want to see all those results, you can go to eucs-schedule.ultimatefederation.eu, where it's all being loaded on. And more hydration and just dampening of jerseys and hair on the sidelines to try and stay cool in the hot heat. It's a little bit windier than yesterday. Do you think? Would probably favour East Bloc style of play. They prefer that smaller ball. But today's breezier conditions. It is 3SB who find themselves in the lead in the later stages, 9-11. So East Bloc really need to start finding the breaks. And I don't mean slowing down. Last minute attempts, and that then finds a little bit of form. In fact, I think we might be getting double helpings of Toshnerova sisters, because that looks a lot like Rahel throwing form, and an absolute peach of a backhand, perfect rise and fall. And we'll find out once the scorekeeper pops that one in. You can see him just there, entering all that information with an even better view than us, folks. But that would be some interesting line management if we're now starting to put some slight loading onto the O-line for 3SB, because that is all they need to do now is just trade out. Well, I take it back. It was not Rahel Toshnerova. It was Anna Drovakova. So Drovakova with the beauty of a backhand, and Teresa Brazova underneath it. So the Budweis doctor, Drovakova, currently living in Prague. He's also played for Shout and Casayetes, the beach team. And Dvorakova is also one of the coaches, part of the Junior Improvement Academy. Love those community members and what they do. So we see a little bit of a stumble in the cup. You can see how aggressive the point in the zone is being. Really trying to choose the moment to get up in the face. But that's a nice find. Butsova in open acreage. Favakor will send it back. USB not happy enough with the footwork of Dominika Hadlova. So much like the start of the game, we are now reaching another chapter with a fair amount of stoppages and interruptions. But these things do happen, and they certainly do happen in finals. But 3SB doing a great job with this zone of pushing East Block back into negative yards repeatedly. Point being played there by Toshnelova. So I did see the 5 on the back of the shirt this time. Not just guesstimating by virtue of frame appearance. Love that one. Nice rapid pace. Now can East Block thread the needle all the way through to make it count? Again, looking for those aggressive sort of crash strike cuts from the hander set. It's not quite finding the right pockets to throw into. But they are able to occasionally puncture that front cup. But it's just 3SB's recovery and reactions. The speed of that front cup is pretty darn good, although there's a little jailbreak through it. A very high pass tally. But East Block just needing to do it patiently. Giving and going and flowing. And that will work. Not sure who was supposed to be tasked with keeping the shoulders of that zone guarded. But that will work out very nicely and keep us trading out in the second half. 12-10, the 3SB lead. 3SB 3 points away from a wildcard berth into the European Championship finals. So again, the time between these points starting to elongate a little bit. Unclear as to whether a timeout was formally taken then. Another of these roller pools sliding out of the far sideline. East Block trying to set the trap. 3SB already making it to centre field in both senses. Great rundown. And just throws under duress. Nothing to be done about that. Another goes in the favour of 3SB. They're taking slightly spicy shots, but it's working out for them. Mrażowa finding Terezi Kanshka. And 13-10. Very close to victory indeed. Although they seem to be celebrating like that's everything. Well, I tell you what, folks, that has done it. That has been enough. Well, there you go. Time ended 8 minutes ago. The 3SB coach seems just as confused as I am. But that will wrap it up, folks. Well, a trade through the second half wasn't what 3SB expected. I'm sure they were thinking that East Block were going to get something back at any moment. But what a fantastic game management performance that was. 3SB are your Crvena champions here at the EUF Summer Tour 2024. And two of the sons on the sideline. In fact, that's Aaron there, just on the corner of your view. Son of Rahel Toshnedova, who was involved in so many of those breaks. Of all of them, in fact, 1, 2, 3 breaks, all of them thrown by that number 5 jersey, one of the leaders of 3SB for such a long time. And wonderful scenes. We love to see it. I'm sure Ben's out there somewhere as well. One of the other new generations of 3SB family coming through. But what a great game that was for fans of 3SB. Commiserations to East Block. Of course, they played the schedule so well. Huge scoreline deficits. They had, up until this point, not taken a single loss coming in. But certainly a big game for both sides. But it is indeed 3SB who've stamped their ticket officially. They can go ahead and book their travel later this year at the end of September. Well, thank you so much for joining our coverage of Crvena. That will wrap us up for both of the divisions here. But don't you worry, folks. There's plenty more coverage from the other field sites hosting the other tours. So get yourselves onto those live streams. But I've been Hannah Pendlebury. Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy those final games elsewhere and whatever you've got planned for the rest of your day.